Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm not on the water today, and I have screen sharing with you guys to show you tides, weather, and maps. The reason is I want to do a review of the last 3 days of fishing, which was last Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think reviewing what happened is very important. Also, pre-planning is very important. So later on, we'll do some pre-planning videos, but the importance of pre-planning and review is with fishing like anything else. Coach for a football game, John, coach, is going up against Team X, and Team X is a running team. He needs to plan for that. When he's done with that, he needs to review it, and maybe the next week he has another team Z, and they are a throwing team, so you need to change your plan. You're gonna have a different plan. So that's what we're gonna be talking about: plans, execution, and today's mainly review. Okay, we'll go over some of that other stuff later, but today's a review. So let's go back and look at Friday for Steinhatchee. Went to Steinhatchee. It was Sink Creek. We have a little map here, and Sink Creek is right here. And that is a kayak launching area. I've been there before, so I kind of know the area. I knew we were going to have a water issue, so I waited a little while. I didn't go at dead low tide, and actually got out there about 9 o'clock, and I was still too early. So that's something that I will note for the future, that if I have a negative 0.9 tide, I'm not going to be out there within the first hour of that low tide. So ended up coming out to the mouth and had to walk the kayak through. It was literally 6 inches of water. I will post that video above here, above in the right corner. But what ended up happening is we just walked the kayaks out and eventually made it out to this area about 11 o'clock. Okay, so you see that the water gets a little deeper in this area, and the tide was moving. You can see on the tide chart, the tide is a lot better at 11 o'clock than, we're right in the middle of the tide change there. So tide's coming up, water's flowing nicely, and the mullet started running. As soon as the mullet started running, I started casting, and right away, I think me and David put about 10 or 11 fish on board, and then it cut off, right? So the fish were moving in with the current, with the tide, and blew by us after that little swarm, in my opinion. I'm not a professional, don't claim to be. So with that being said, I moved in some, and I moved in to this area right here, and it's a little deeper, and it's got some grass, but nothing. So navigated my way away from that and over to this little creek. And in this creek right here, water's deeper. There's some deeper pockets. The fish should be moving through there with the current, and luckily they were. So I think I caught 3 or 4 fish out of there. Same lure, paddle tail, 6 foot of water right there. The other area was about 3.5 foot of water. And then after I felt that I'd covered that area pretty good, I just hit these flats right here that were previously, all this, when we got out there, was pretty much walking area. Like, it was shallow. So now we had 3 foot of water, and what I was doing is, in these shallows, you can see there's grass beds, actually big grass patches above the water. So what I was doing is going behind them and hitting the areas where they were protected from flow of the current, so the fish could hide and the fish could ambush. That was my thought process. It worked out nice. Caught another 2 or 3 fish back there. So that day, within a time frame of getting out there at 9, not catching fish until 11, and getting out of there about 3 o'clock, we put close to 20 fish on the boat. I don't remember the exact number, but between two people, a couple hours, 20 fish, good solid day in my opinion. But quick look at the weather, because we are in Florida. As you can see, at 11 o'clock it was 67 degrees. We had 10 miles per hour wind, and the wind was blowing us back into shore, which was nice, so we weren't getting blown out. Being in a kayak, the wind is very important to you. So good weather, 67 to 76 degrees. Nice flow of tide right there, as you can see, and good day. So let's move on to Saturday, and I'll link that video up here. All right, so day 2 was a place called Hickory Mounds. It is near Perry, Florida. It's further north than Steinhatchee, and also in the kayak that day. So as you can see here on the map on the left side, this is dirt road from Highway 98 for 7.5 miles. And then we get to this area right here that has a boat launch, and that's where I put the boat in. Now on this day, tide was pretty much the same. As you can see right here, we have a low tide at about 8 a.m. So based on the previous day, I know that this area is also shallow. So what I did is, click the wrong button. So what I did is got out there at 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. timed it a whole lot better than I did the previous day. And then put the boat in, and I knew the flow of current was coming in. So the objective was to hit the backside of points that had a little bit of depth to catch that flow. I throw into the current, make it look natural, fish coming down with the current. If I'm throwing down current and reeling back, fish going up against the current, maybe not as likely in that particular moment. The fish are kind of coming in. The bait fish are running from the big fish, right? My opinion. So within the first 30 minutes, okay, so I put in up here. I'm coming down the creek trying to get to the Gulf, and right here we have a point, and that point right there, I threw into the corner. There was a fish right there. I missed the first one, caught the second one. It was perfect. The current just coming right around that corner, and they were sitting in about 4 foot of water. So that was beautiful. It was timed perfect within the first 30 minutes. First 30 minutes I have one fish on board, one fish I had missed, and very good fish. The rest of the creek I didn't have any luck with until I got to the mouth. The trend of people that I hear fishing is mouths of the creeks. That's what everybody was saying. So when I got up to the mouth, I started throwing up against the wind-blown grass. So the wind's blowing from the south, hitting the grass, and also at the mouth. So I have 2 different variables. And right here on this little corner, there was a trout and a redfish. So that worked out perfect. As soon as I got to the mouth, those 2 fish were right there. And that was at noon. So within the first hour, 4 fish on board. Okay, so once I caught those 2 fish right here, I had a wind coming from the south. I believe we have that right here. Yeah, wind coming from the south. And it was hitting the grass on the shoreline. There's no beach, it's shoreline, or it's grass, it's not sand. So it was hitting those reeds and grass. I was fishing that. The boat, I was running parallel with the shoreline and throwing into the wind. Got 3 more redfish, nice ones, and just kind of fishing this whole shoreline doing that. So I went all the way around here and around to here. So there's another creek mouth right here, and when I got to this corner, so this corner here, This is mainly high tide. This is high tide, you can see it. On low tide, you can see this bar right here. So that bar was covered up when I got there, and there was bait fish hitting this point. So I started throwing on that point, got a nice speckled trout, and then I pulled my boat around here and started casting into the wind and caught the rest of my limit of fish for that day. So that, I think I finished up there at like 3:30. So from 11 to 3:30, I limited my speckled trout and my redfish. So nice, good day there. Good plan. It worked out good. So some other people were catching redfish or trout at the mouth. I didn't go that far. Didn't need to. But yeah, so a couple miles, couple hours on a kayak. Another nice day. Ended up not sure how many fish. I want to say close to 15, but another good day. So it was the same as the previous day as far as our tides go. I was catching fish up here, same as the day before. So good trend, good timing on that day, and very productive. All right, now for Sunday. Sunday, video linked up here. Sunday I went to Hickory Mounds again, and it was basically the same conditions. So the plan was the same: fish the mouth of the river, or the mouth of the creek, fish the points, fish the wind-blown reeds or in grass. Same plan. So I went out there, got out there too early. I planned it a little too early. I think I got out there at 10, and there was no tide. So there was no water. It was shallower than the previous day, and you could tell by the fishing, it just wasn't the same. So weather same, 80 degrees, 78 degrees, and same thing. Same boat launch, put in right here, came down the creek into the mouth, and there was a guy at the mouth of the creek fishing live bait or some kind of bait on the bottom. So there was a guy anchored up here with his family, and I think they were catching redfish. I saw him catch 4 short redfish, and they were catching this flow of water coming through right here. And I went by them, didn't catch anything, but got out to the mouth of the creek, and it was shallow enough to where the fins on the Hobie were hitting the bottom. So got there too early. There wasn't enough water really. Kind of hung around for a minute, waited for the tide to come in, get enough water, and then I started cutting across where I cut across the previous day, trying to hit these reeds and all this stuff, just like the previous day. And like I said, I think I was just too early. The fish weren't there. The fish weren't biting. They were waiting for more water, or they were moving in with the water, right? So the previous day where I caught the speckled trout. Hold on, let's back up. So Cody, my neighbor, was behind me, and he stayed behind a little ways. So I had made it to this point up here. I had made it to the point where I was catching trout the previous day, and he was still down here. Well, he timed it perfectly. Basically, the time that I was catching redfish the previous day, he cut this corner and caught a 24-inch redfish. So as soon as he caught that redfish, while he's talking about that redfish, I hit the trout. I hit just a little school of trout in the same area as the day before up here. So he moves up there with me, and right on this bar. It was shallow enough to where that bar was out of the water. So got there too early compared to the previous day. Once that bar went underwater, they started biting. So sat right here, and once again, the tide looked the same as the previous 2 days. Pushed the wrong button. So all the fish on Sunday were also caught in that tide, right? And then our weather, 80 degrees, 79 degrees, same. So anyways, we had a good plan going out there. I did time it a little wrong on Friday and Sunday. Saturday was timed perfectly. I don't know. Sunday I left early for some reason, not sure why. But on Sunday we brought home 10 fish. So I'm not sure how many we caught. It was about 20. But 3 days of fishing in a row, bringing home limits on 2 days, and catching 20 fish a day. To me, that's super solid. And the reason for making a plan, the reason for reviewing this, is so that we can go back out next week, week after, and try to look for conditions that we've seen previously. They're not going to be exactly like this, right? So different times of year, different conditions, we log it, and next year in February I'll be looking at these tides, looking at these creeks, and making a plan before I go fishing, right? So that is the recap for last week's fishing. I'm going to be adding the recap to probably the fishing videos, if not just a new video after the fishing video so it doesn't get too long. But I want to give good information of what I'm doing. Hopefully, this helps you guys, and I know it's going to help me. So I'm going to make a plan. I'll share that with you guys and then do a review after fishing. That way we're not just doing fishing videos. Anybody can do a fishing video, but what can we learn from it? Okay, so that's going to do it for today. Till the next fishing trip.